Good afternoon. Tensions over Iran's nuclear program are rising sharply. The International Atomic Energy Agency's Board of Governors has passed a resolution demanding Tehran immediately disclose its enriched uranium stockpile and grant inspectors access to sites bombed in June. In response, Iran has ended its cooperation with the agency, including the September Cairo agreement that allowed limited inspections. The move marks a new escalation between Iran and the West, with both sides digging in over nuclear oversight. Does this signal a return to confrontation, or is there still room for diplomacy? Welcome to In Depth. Iran has pulled back from plans to restart UN nuclear inspections, heightening fears about its uranium stockpile. According to the New York Times, the move came just hours after the UN watchdog, the IAEA, issued a new resolution demanding immediate information on Iran's enriched uranium and access to suspected sites, including those bombed by Israel and the United States in June. Inspections have been blocked since that 12-day war, despite President Trump's earlier claim that Iran's nuclear program had been obliterated. Tehran maintains its program is peaceful, but has now withdrawn from the September Cairo agreement following the new IAEA resolution. The newspaper added that experts warn the fate of Iran's uranium stockpile remains unknown, and that without renewed inspections, the risk of a new conflict between Iran and Israel is rising. Tehran is now weighing whether to withdraw from the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty after the latest IAEA resolution. According to Iran International, a member of Iran's parliament said the option is on the table, with experts reviewing the consequences and a final decision possible by Tuesday. The talks follow an IAEA board vote backed by the US, Britain, France, and Germany, demanding full access to Iran's nuclear sites and uranium stockpiles. Iran condemned the resolution as illegal, saying it effectively killed the inspection accord reached in September. Meanwhile, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi accused Western powers of attacking diplomacy, while Tehran insists it is still cooperating under the NPT, but won't allow access to bombed sites until safety and legal issues are resolved. For more on this, we're joined from Vienna by Mr. Yusri Abu Shadi, former Chief Inspector of the IAEA, and from London by Mr. Meher Nicholas Fazili, Director of the EU Asian Centre. Good evening to you and welcome to In Depth. Let me start by Mr. Nicholas. And Mr. Nicholas, the IAEA Board of Governors has demanded Iran immediately disclose its enriched uranium stockpile and the status of sites bombed in June. Is this resolution primarily a pressure tool by the US and Europe or a necessary preventive step?
I'm delighted to join you today. To make a long story short, I think here geography matters, right? So it's called the IAEA. It's supposed to be truly international. But if you look at the upper echelons, right, the cadre, the top people, the inspectors, the policymakers at the IAEA, Western Europe is very overrepresented. So countries like Italy, France, Germany, Britain are very overrepresented. And who is underrepresented? Well, it's countries from Asia, from the Arabian Gulf, from Africa, from Latin America. They are underrepresented. So when the IAEA, with all due respect, when they speak primarily in the name of NATO member states, to make a long story short, from Western Europe and North America. So what I'm coming at is they're not neutral. And I'm not saying this to defend the Iranian government, because I have absolutely no sympathy at all for the Iranian government, but I'm trying to be objective and neutral here. And objectively, I would blame both sides. So I would blame both the behavior of the Iranian regime, the Khomeiniist authoritarian clerical Shiite regime of Iran, which behaves in an unpeaceful manner, it's true, does not respect international treaties, it is true, but it's not only their fault, it's also the fault of their enemies. Why? Because here there's a double standard. So there are other Asian or Middle Eastern countries who do not abide by international law. And there are other Middle Eastern and Asian countries who couldn't care less about, following the IAEA recommendations, and they are never punished, they are never sanctioned, and they are never bombarded, right? You never see anyone bombarding Pakistan or Israel because they don't follow the recommendations of the IAEA. So here, it's a bit unfair, and there is clearly a double standard, and in this day and age, that kind of double standard is unacceptable.
So we're speaking, what you're telling here is that there is a double standard in dealing with different countries, and that the IAEA is politicizing the matters more in favor of big powers.
Yeah.
This is what you're saying here?
Yeah, and one small caveat, the timing of the IAEA reports has become suspicious. So there was a vague suspicion or vague doubt, but before the infamous 12 days war pitting Iran against Israel started 3 months ago, right? What triggered, the argument, the legal argument, the justification used by the Israeli government to start the 12 days war was precisely that 3 weeks later, what a coincidence, what a coincidence. 3 weeks later, the IAEA had published a very harsh, very negatively worded, brutally negatively worded report condemning Iran. And what a coincidence, Benjamin Netanyahu used it as a justification to start the 12 days war. So all that is unacceptable. Once again, even though it's true that the Iranian regime is not a nice regime and they are misbehaving, but the double standard is unacceptable.
Right, the principle in itself. Dr. Abu Shadi, with Iran cancelling the Cairo Agreement, which allowed limited inspections, how serious is the setback to the agency's monitoring capabilities?
Yeah, what is surprising in the resolution of the IAEA, actually, it blamed Iran not to allow access to the damaged site. But they ignore who did the damage site, who attacked the nuclear sites under the NPT, granted by the NPT, protected actually by such international agreement, and who violate actually the agreement. It is actually Israel and United States who attacked facilities under the safeguard. That is why actually Iran did not permit the inspector to go to this damage, but not only because of political issue. Actually, it is a practical issue because till now, Iran does not know exactly the size of the damage, does not know if the sites are safe for access, whether for the Iranian or for the IAEA inspectors. And therefore, it is strange to make a resolution actually against Iran that they did not allow access. Okay, if Iran allowed access, would the inspectors of the IAEA will go in their own conditions and risk their life to go there in a location not safe in the sense of there are probably still remaining bombs or explosives or etc. So before they actually, the resolution should done this way, they should also first actually to discuss, is it legal really that Israel and US attacked a site under NPT and under agency safeguard or not? But as well, the resolution ignored completely that last 2.5 months, and particularly after Cairo agreement in September, the IAEA did perform actually a 12 inspection in different locations in Iran, including one site which was damaged, but a side of it was not damaged. So the inspector visited the site, but of course did not go to the location where it was bombed, attacked. So this was ignored as well. Now, the reaction was strong, of course, from Iran, and announced the stop of Cairo agreement. But in reality, Cairo agreement was based on a safeguard agreement between Iran and the IAEA, not between Iran and the 5+1 or the Troika and the others. And I still believe that Iran will still continue with the IAEA inspections, but in the terms of the safeguard agreement in 1974, not according to the 5+1 or the 2015 agreement, which was ended on 18 October, just the last month. So that is the situation.
Well, doesn't that remind us of a report that was made long ago on Iraq with no proof that Iraq really had the mass destructive weapons? Wasn't that the same report made by the same agency at that time? And then it proved that Iraq had no biological weapons or mass destructive weapons?
Yeah, let's distinguish between two periods. The period after 1990 till actually 1998, that is the period where the IAEA discovered actually a real illegal program for nuclear weapons in Iraq. And the Iraqian admitted, and in fact we did many tens of inspection there, and we were, I mean, the IAEA were able
in Iraq
to confirm that all
in Iraq,
is gone,
sir?
and we annualized everything related. And now Iraq at that time is very much clean and reached the zero level of the nuclear, not only
are we speaking here?
but also the peaceful.
Are we speaking
After
here
that,
about
yes,
Iraq, sir?
That was the problem. After that,
Are
when
we,
they claim,
Mr. Abu Shadi, can you hear me? Are we speaking here about the incident of Iraq? Are we speaking here about the strike made by the U.S. and its allies in Iraq and the invasion of Iraq on the pretext that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction? And then, after years and years, the allies apologized because they proved to be wrong? Are we speaking about the same incident here?
Yeah. I actually, I don't hear you well. But as I repeat, I continue to say, actually, the accusation related to Iraq in 1991 was true.
Was not, with all respect, if Mr. Tony Blair then came in a press conference apologizing that what they said about Iraq was not true. Was not true. So, so with all respect, it is so similar, the reports of that time to that what we are speaking about, but it's different. Mr. Nicholas, Tehran has now cancelled its cooperation agreement with the IAEA. How does this move affect Europe's strategy towards Iran's nuclear program?
It's a great question. It's a great question. It's linked to the one you just asked about Iraq, because, I remember, you're right, Tony Blair, George W. Bush, Dick Cheney, they lied, they lied, and they used as an argument, as a fake argument, as a justification for war, casus belli in Latin law. They used as a casus belli to justify the illegal invasion of Baghdad in the year 2003, the non-compliance with UN resolutions, specifically about weapons of mass destruction, and more specifically about Iraq's nuclear program. It was all lies. But I would say, to answer your question, the situation today is much worse than in the days of Tony Blair and George Bush. Why? Very briefly, because in the days of Tony Blair and George Bush, the makeup of the IAEA was more neutral. Hans Blix, Dr. Hans Blix,
of course, remember Dr. Hans Blix,
Swedish pacifist. He believed in peace, and he was for many years the Director General of the IAEA until 1998. And the Clinton White House was already very aggressive with Iraq, and the Clinton White House accused poor Hans Blix of not being strong enough, which is a lie, of course. And when George Bush was elected in 2000, what happened is Hans Blix left Vienna and he went to New York, and he became the head of a New York-based agency called the United Nations Monitoring and Verification Agency. And in the weeks preceding the illegal invasion of Baghdad, with the help of the French government, with the help of the German government, and with the help of Russia and the Vatican, Hans Blix went many times to Mosul, Tikrit, and Baghdad, and he tried to avoid the war, the illegal invasion, and George Bush invaded Iraq anyway with the illegal support of Tony Blair. That is what happened in 2003. I would say today the situation is worse, to reply to your question, because today, unlike what happened 25 years ago, the French government and the German government, they want war. So, 25 years ago in the Hans Blix era, the French and the Vatican and Russia and Germany did everything they could to avoid an escalation and a war. Today, I would say that the governments of Germany and France are more hawkish. They are more anti-Iranian, and they want war much more than Trump. And this is where I disagree with my colleague. I think today, unlike what many people believe, America is moderate because Trump, deep in his heart, does not want a war with Iran. So he's a voice of moderation. And those who are very aggressive and want to escalate the situation and dream of starting a new war in the Middle East, they are basically the French president, Emmanuel Macron, and the German chancellor. They want something terrible. They want a new war with Iran. And I think America in that new equation, unlike 25 years ago, America is a force for moderation and peace today.
Right. Dr. Abu Shadi, Iran said that the recent resolution disrupted the process of dialogue and cooperation with the IAEA. What's your interpretation of that statement and the resolution itself?
No, as I said, my strongly believe that this resolution is a political resolution, not a technical resolution, because it ignores many facts. As I said, they ignore actually that the inspections are ongoing already in Iran. There is no access to this damage, not because Iran is denying the access. It is simply because there is a safety problem for the life of the IAEA inspectors. And some people say, let Iran allow, and then it will be the responsibility of the United Nations. And I would like really that Iran to give them this chance to see if the IAEA do not care about the life of their inspectors, and we allow them to go to this risky location and subject their life to be lost. And we see how the United Nations is going. So in my view, this is a highly political resolution, and it is not based on fact, and ignore completely actually to address any discussion related to the damage site caused by whom, and it is complete violation actually to the NPT agreement and the safety of nuclear facilities.
So,
but
Mr. Abu Shadi,
let me finish, please.
Yes.
I'm not sure about the IAEA, the Iran final position. They declare stop of Cairo. Yeah, okay. Cairo understanding is not obligatory, but they did not till now declare that they are stopping the safeguard agreement between Iran and the IAEA, which had been signed in 1974. That is the essential one based on the NPT. If they declare that they are not bound to this, and then they withdraw to NPT, then that is something completely different, and will, of course, make a strong reaction in the whole world. But for the time being, I have a feeling Iran will not make really stop the agreement with the IAEA. And in the meantime, I think the IAEA did not receive yet any denial of inspections till today. We talk about hours, actually, after the resolution. We shall see. But my understanding, it will go.
So from your point of view, you think that the statements of the IAEA was just a pressuring tool so that Iran would accept the visits to their sites, or put pressure on Iran in negotiation? This is what you mean here?
I think it is a pressure not really to permit the inspectors, but it is a pressure to start a negotiation with Troika and with the United States. Right. And it is a part of pressure, like Iran has a pressure that they have the highly enriched uranium material, and it is not known if this material still exists in Iran or damaged with the attack. Right. So I think with these cards, they will start again the negotiation. That's my understanding.
Right. Mr. Nicholas, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said that the United States, Britain, Germany, and France were pursuing a path of escalation following the resolution. What's your take on that?
So here, I think the Iranians are making a mistake because, for ideological reasons, the Khomeinist, Metwali, Jafari ideology of Iran, the government, which is quite radical and silly, they are using kind of a verbal exaggeration, and they're lumping together America, Germany, Britain, and France. I think it's a mistake, once again, because Donald Trump is not a neoconservative. He is not at all like George Bush or Tony Blair, and he's very different, by the way, from Friedrich Merz, like the German chancellor, or Emmanuel Macron. So people like Emmanuel Macron in Paris and Friedrich Merz, in a way, the Iranians, when they criticize them as being warmongers and hypocrites, the Iranians are partly right. Friedrich Merz and Macron are warmongers. They love war. They want trouble, right? It's not the case. I think they are wrong to criticize Trump. Trump is a neo-Nixonian realist. He does not want war. And by the way, that 12 days war between Israel and Iran was ended abruptly thanks to Trump. Without the theatrical intervention of Trump himself, that Iranian-Israeli war could have escalated dangerously, and it could have lasted a year or 6 months. And that's what France and Germany wanted. And the only one who stopped it was Trump. So I think, putting together Trump and the Western European is stupid.
So what you're saying here, Mr. Fazeli, is that the European side and the United States are not on the same wavelength, right?
In reality, unlike the official discourse, unlike what the official discourse says, they are very different. They have different objectives. And here there's a key word. The word is weaponization. What does it mean, weaponization? It means you don't believe in international law. You don't believe sincerely from your heart in the work of the IAEA inspectors. You don't care. You want to use the IAEA inspectors, and you want to use international law in a very cynical, hypocritical way to attack your enemy. So you are using law as a weapon, weaponization. And that's exactly what the French and the Israelis and the Germans are doing. They're weaponizing the Vienna inspection regime because they want war. Trump is not at all in that logic because Trump doesn't need to weaponize international law in a hypocritical fashion because Trump is using the balance of power, the global balance of power. America is much, much stronger today than Germany and France. And it's that balance of power which is giving America a voice in the Middle East and the Gulf, not international law. And the word balance is a French word or a Latin word, by lengths. What does it mean by lengths? Two scales. And Trump is playing that balance of power very well.
He's using his leverage very well. Dr. Abu Shadi, if Iran escalates further or considers opting or retreating out of the NPT, what would that mean for the IAEA's ability to monitor its nuclear program?
Is it for me the question?
Sorry, repeat.
All right. If Iran escalates further or considers retreating from the NPT, what would that mean for the IAEA, particularly its ability to monitor its nuclear program and come out with a fair resolution?
If you ask if Iran will go
what
on
happens if it retreats? Yes.
And withdraw from the NPT?
Yes. What happened then?
Okay, when the war started in 13 of June, there was a draft resolution already in the Iranian parliament to withdraw from the NPT. That resolution is still there. The draft resolution is still there. And I think Iran threatened at certain moment to withdraw. Now, whether with this resolution of yesterday or before yesterday, that will lead Iran to really withdraw from the NPT, my personal view will not. And I strongly believe Iran will not withdraw.
But what happened if it does? What happened if it does?
What happened, of course, then we don't know exactly like what happened in North Korea. When they withdraw from the NPT, we see after 2-3 years, we saw that the first nuclear explosion happened in North Korea, and North Korea became now the ninth nuclear weapon state.
Right.
So if that happened, that means Iran will have all actually free access to the nuclear weapon. They have all capability to do that in actually a few weeks, if not days, and therefore that decision will make Iran is the 10th nuclear weapon state in the world. So it is a very serious decision because actually Iran in a place not like North Korea. North Korea is somehow protected by Russia and China in another area, relatively isolated. But Iran is in the Middle East, in the heart of the whole world, actually. So it is very sensitive. And then it will be probably some kind of balance between Iran and Israel. And who knows what may happen, because Israel threatened many times to use nuclear weapons in the area,
yes,
even in Gaza.
Yes.
So We
Very
hope
clear.
not to go to that direction.
Very clear, Mr. Abu Shadi. Very clear. That was Mr. Yusri Abu Shadi, former Chief Inspector of the IAEA, and Mr. Meher Nicholas Fazili, Director of the EU Asian Center. We thank you both, gentlemen, for sharing your valuable insights. And I guess that brings us to the end of today's episode of In Depth. Many thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more on Qnews.